What's going on, Coldwater Nation? It's Geoff, and welcome back to another fly tying tutorial. Today, I'll be showing you how I tied a Gordon Quill fly for a fly tie of the month for the month of September. Originally created by the father of American dry fly fishing, Theodore Gordon, in the late 1800s to imitate the Ampharella mayflies in the Catskill rivers, the Gordon Quill fly is considered one of the first American dry fly patterns and was instrumental in making dry fly fishing popular in a time where most fly fishermen would use winged wet flies. The Quill Gordon has cemented itself in fly fishing history as its revolutionary effect on fly fishing as we know it today, and is considered a quintessential Catskill dry fly for any fly fishing angler to have in their fly box. Without further ado, let's head over to the bench and get started on tying a Quill Gordon.
Yeah. There he goes.
Oh my god, look at that! Look at that toe!
The squirmy worm is an effective and very deadly fly.
What's up, guys? My name's Brian,
And I'm Geoff.
and you're watching Empire Coldwater. Let's rip some lips.
This video is brought to you in part by Upstate Excursions and by Black Dog Outdoor Sports. First, I'll take a size 16 dry fly hook and get that settled into my vise. Then I will start my wraps of 8/0 red thread about a hook eye's distance behind the eye of my hook before grabbing my scissors and snipping off the tag end of my thread. Now, I will take a pinch of stiff hackle feathers in a yellowish orange color and measure those fibers to be about a hook shank in length before tying them in with a pinch wrap. Then, I will continue wrapping my thread down the shank, stopping just before the bend of my hook before taking wraps up to where I started my thread before taking my scissors and snipping away the butt ends of the fibers I just tied in. Now I will take a pinch of fibers from the side of a yellow wood duck flank feather and measure those to be about the shank of the hook in length, just like the tail I tied in previously. Then I will take a pinch wrap before a few additional wraps to secure the flank feather fibers in place before cutting off the excess. Afterwards, I will gently pull back on the mallard flank feathers so I can take wraps of thread in front of the fibers to hold them in a vertical position. Then, I will take wraps behind the flank feathers to cover up the cut ends before working my thread down the shank, leaving my thread a wrap or two above the tail of the fly. Now, I will take a peacock quill that I have stripped the fibers off earlier and tie that in by the thinner side of the quill before working my thread back up behind the mallard flank feathers, being sure to make a nice and evenly tapered thorax to wrap the peacock quill around. With all that prep work done, I will now take my small hackle pliers and grip the very end of the quill before taking careful, overlapping wraps up the shank until I reach my thread. Then I will take a couple wraps of thread to secure the wrapped quill in place before snipping off the excess quill. With the tail, thorax, and wings of the fly all tied in, it's time to make this fly able to float. To do that, we'll take a size 14 grizzly colored whiting feather and strip about 1/8 inch of the stiffer fibers from the base of the stem before tying that exposed stem to the shank of our fly. To determine if you have the right sized hackle, you can either use a hackle gauge or measure the length of the fibers by gently bending the hackle feather next to the hook and seeing if the fibers are about 1.5 to 2 times the hook gap. After getting the stem of the hackle feather secured in place, I'll leave my thread just behind the eye of the hook. Then I will take careful wraps of the hackle feather, making 3 or 4 wraps behind the mallard flank fibers before holding the flank fibers back and taking more wraps in front of the fibers before securing my wrapped hackle feather in place with a few tight thread wraps. Now I will snip off the excess grizzly hackle feather as well as any trapped fibers before taking some additional wraps of thread to build up a small head for the fly. Lastly, I'll take my whip finishing tool and make a few turn whip finish before snipping away my thread and adding a bit of head cement to secure all of those thread wraps in place. And that's all there is to tying a Quill Gordon Dry Fly. If you enjoyed this fly tying tutorial and you want to see more like this one in the future, leave a like, comment, and subscribe so you never miss a new video. That's all for now. Tight lines, everybody.